Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hybrid 32494 here. I just wanted to create a little video here about this Exceed Nitro Rally Monster. I initially bought this a couple of years ago. I made, I think, a couple of videos about it. There's already an unboxing video from when I first got this car from nitrorcx.com. There's also a running video and I think a little bit of a more in-depth explanation. So this is going to be another one in that series. At this point, I've had this car for I think 3 to 4 years. I've ran it fairly consistently, and I was just doing some basic maintenance here, you know, checking the glow plug, seeing what it's like. As you could tell, it's actually perfect. I've never even replaced this glow plug, and it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Let me just get the zoom in on here, see how this works. Anyways, there's no black residue, there's nothing wrong with it. So it starts right up, no problem. So some people say, you know, about this RC, well, it's a cheap off brand, just like Red Cat. Exceed has bad bodies, the shell sometimes they call it. So, you know, what can I say about the shell? Well, I mean, there's really kind of an indentation here. It did flip a lot. You know, I do kind of somewhat drive it off-road. You can tell by the dirt, I'll show you guys later. But other than that, the body integrity itself is good. Now, it is more rigid and I think thicker than a Traxxas Lexan shell, let's say compared to a Traxxas Latch, which I also do have. So I can make a fair comparison. But it hasn't cracked. Nothing really happened. You know, there's no holes on the body posts, and I don't use any kind of body supports. So that's good in that regard. So I guess that's all I can say about the shell. In terms of what it looks like, well, I don't mind that at all, actually. I like the color scheme. It does the job. So to me, the body really just kind of protects the chassis itself, and it does do that fairly well. So let's look at the chassis. You know, if you guys don't know, this is a short course type designed RC. Now in terms of size, it is a 10th scale, but it is smaller than a Slash. This is I think a little bit more than 15 inches and a Slash is 19 to 20, maybe a little bit over 20. So the Slash is a larger RC, but then again, you know, it's a lot more expensive. This is a Nitro, this is 4-wheel drive. This does have a 2-speed. It is shaft driven. So in terms of technology, you know, this has all of it, just slightly on a lower end scale. Engine displacement, this is a 0.18. So, you know, the first thing I usually do is you know, even when I get a used RC from eBay or, you know, purchase from one of my friends, is I'll always inspect the actual cylinder to see whether it's rusty or not inside. So let's see if we can see this one. So I just took out the glow plug. Let's see, and let me get the light aimed in here. So it's shiny, I guess you could see from this angle. There's no dirt inside, there's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't look like there's any kind of carbon buildup. And that is because I've generally always stored it with after-run oil. This is, I think, $3. It lasts for years at a time. So guys, just please always use after-run oil on your Nitro RCs. You could also put some in the carburetor venturi here. I usually just do that actually, but in this case I'm storing it for a long time. You know, whether you store for more than a month, you always want to use after-run oil. And in that case, if I don't run it for at least a month, I'll put some in the actual carb venturi here. I'll take off the air filter, put it in, and also into the glow plug. Now keep in mind, you know, every time you open up the glow plug hole, you might get a little bit of dirt in there. So make sure it's clean. I always use a little bit of compressed air. So if you don't have a compressor, which I also do have, but right now I'm just using this. So, you know, what's my experience like with this RC? Well, you know, you got to keep in mind it's not the most high-end. It does what it does. The 2-speed does shift. Nothing has broken over the years that I've had it. The suspension itself, it does the job. The only negative, and I mentioned this in several other videos, you could see how springy and bouncy it is. Let's check the back. Basically the same thing. So I've been into Nitro RCs and electric RCs for over 10 years at this point. I know how to tune the shocks, but these shocks themselves are just not tunable. Even if you open all of this, the oil inside, there doesn't seem to be any kind of, it's as if there's absolutely no oil. So you can't really add anything. I mean, there is a hole in the shock body itself. Of course, you know, I'm probably going to get some negative comments here saying, I don't know what I'm doing, why don't you just replace the shocks? Well, you could replace the shocks. They're pretty standard, straightforward shocks. I'm sure you can get any kind of, you know, shorter HPI Nitro MT shocks probably on here. I've tried to put on the tracks to slash. They're a little too long for this chassis. But anyway, you know, it does the job. It doesn't really flip. Top speed wise, I did have it measured. I think in second gear, and keep in mind I run it slightly on the rich side. As you can tell, you know, I'm not really leaning the engine out too much. I'm not really letting it overheat. So it tops out at around 33, 34. Not the fastest RC, but you know, for this price, it does what you can. And listening to the 2-speed shift itself in general, to me, that's where the fun's at. It's pretty exciting to actually hear it. In terms of how powerful this car is, you know, it's pretty much okay. This engine is somewhat well mated to this RC. It's not that heavy. So, you know, it reminds me of kind of running an old HPI MT when they first kind of came out. Not the newer one with the .18, but I think with the HPI 15FE back in the day. That was, I think, my third RC ever. The chassis itself, this is kind of common in this level of RCs. It's reminiscent of a regular HPI RS43 chassis, where you have the regular differentials in the front and rear, the middle shaft drive, and the transmission in the middle here, and the way that the radio tray is positioned. So, you know, this car came fully ready to run with everything you needed. I think obviously not batteries. We had a regular 2.4 gigahertz radio at the time. I think I paid 140 to 50 for it. Everything still works. I literally have not replaced a single element on this RC. The only thing also is the tires. Not too great. I mean, aesthetically, they're pretty good looking. And you could tell on this other tire here, some of the red in the front is okay, but in the back it's starting to wear off. Some of the plating and the chrome, it's probably from the exhaust. Other than that, I haven't really worked anything with the engine. It's fine. Just keep in mind, also another element I noticed here that they really could have done a better job on is the way the pull starter here pulls. It's kind of on an angle, you guys can see, and it's really close to this throttle control system. So when you're pulling it, the cord, you could see it's somewhat frayed already. And I'm very careful not to really break it, but you really have to start it carefully, or else, you know, you'll probably spend $20 on the actual recoil itself again. Now, also another preventive maintenance item everyone should do is just get a regular cheap Dubro fuel filter like I have. Trust me, just clean it every couple months. You'll be fine. You're always going to find a little bit of dirt in there, because you could tell, like, all these oils in the fuel attract sand. No matter where you run, you're always going to have a little bit of dirt around this area. That's just how it's going to be. But generally, you know, this is a great RC, even if you want to learn working on nitros. Everything you can tune this engine. It has a low speed needle, high speed needle, has an idle speed adjustment screw. So in terms of that, you know, if you don't want to get a more high-end RC in terms of nitros, one of these off brands is a perfect RC to learn on. Everything, all the principles of RC tuning and running and maintenance still apply. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll always respond back, you know, as soon as I can. And I'll try to make a couple more videos on the other RCs I have. As you can tell, I have a Tamiya Monster. What is this? Tamiya lunchbox, actually, yeah. So I have a lot of lights on it, some lights on the top here. I have a roof rack with lights. Pretty cool RC if you're into some of the nostalgia stuff. I'll show you guys a little bit around what else I have. This is my Slash. It's a 2-wheel drive VXL with a Castle 5800 kV motor in it. This is a Stampede VXL 2-wheel drive, also fully customized Castle system. This is actually one of my favorite RCs. This is a HPI Nitro RS43 Drift. Right now it just has regular street tires, but it did come with these plastic drift tires. Pretty interesting chassis design. If you guys want to see anything about this RC, it has a pretty cool center engine right here, just for weight distribution. Just please let me know. I'll be more than happy to make another video. Here's another kind of a low-end RC. It's an Arma Fury. I also installed some different rear wheels. You know, I didn't want to kind of abuse the originals in case I have to sell it or whatever the case is. The body's a good-looking body. I put in a Venom brushed motor in there. You guys can't see it, but much faster than the original. And once again, you know, this is a cheap RC. You could bash it, abuse it. You know, you won't be too upset with that. So, you guys want to see any more on these RCs, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to make another video.